Hello everyone, Razorback Stacker here again, and today we're going to continue on in our discussion of the basics or the intro to the basics of silver, specifically the silver fundamentals. On part one, we talked about where we can find some resources. One of the easiest and, in my opinion, a great resource is SD Bullion. And we showed you in the first video on how to get to that. And you can just, click on the link, of course, and you can just scroll over to the right and click on the appropriate buttons where it says Silver Fundamentals, and you get a lot of different information about silver. And last week we discussed why we buy silver, and specifically silver bullion. And we also talked about why it's valuable. We also talked about where we can find silver here on this great planet of ours called Earth. And we showed you, I do believe, the number one location for silver was Mexico, followed by Peru, followed by China. And I think I listed the top 10 geographical areas where we can find silver in this planet of ours. So, and we talked a lot about silver demand and where we use it, and we found out that about 50% of it is used in industry, which includes jewelry, electronics, and even solar panels. And I shared with you that I put my money where my mouth is, and I actually invested in some solar panels for my own home here. So that's a little brief review of what we talked about in part one of Intro to the Basics to Silver. And today we're going to talk about silver investment and how we determine, or not how we, but how they, meaning the powers to be, determine what the spot value is. And we're going to get into that right now. Here we are back at SD Bullion's website. And I just wanted to mention I am not sponsored by them whatsoever. I'm not a financial expert whatsoever. I'm just trying to learn the basics about silver and the fundamentals of silver, and of course on why I invest in it and why I stack it. And I just wanted to share that with everyone today. So today, as we talked about in our first video, is why I'm doing this. Well, the main reason is to have to learn more about silver, of course, and to have a understanding of what other stackers or YouTubers are talking about. And something that's really important to me, so that we have understanding, so we can have an intelligent conversation with another fellow stacker or friends or family or someone who asks me questions about what I stack. And of course, with my local coin shop, my LCS. Don't want to look stupid. I don't want to look uninformed. Obviously, they're there to help me and educate me when I need them. But at the same time, I don't want to look like a bumbling fool. So, with that said, I want to get right into it. So, as before, we go over here to the right side and we click on the resources and click on Investing Guide, and we just scroll down. I think I talked about the free ebook you can get, and we've been discussing about the silver fundamentals. We click on this here, and I think it's really important we start off with this very first paragraph here, like we did in the first video. Silver is used in more physical transactions all time than any other currency. Silver is historically cheaper compared to gold and other financial assets. Precious and limited in supply, silver is a required industrial precious metal for our modern lifestyles. So what I want to really key on today in our topics of investing and how the spot price is determined is this key phrase right here. Silver is a required industrial precious metal. I think that is huge. I think it's extremely important. We're going to talk about that here as we go on. So, and I'm not going to go over everything we did in the first video, obviously, but we did talk a lot about, right down, I'm just going to keep on scrolling here, all the way down about silver industrial demand. I think this is a huge component in today's topic of investing or why we buy silver, specifically silver bullion. So, because of what it's used for today, what silver is used for today, and it's used for batteries, for electronics, solar panels, and solders. So, I really wanted to hone in on this one little paragraph that they talk about here, right here. I think this is just absolutely huge. How much silver is in a solar panel? Well, the average solar panel uses about 2/3 of a troy ounce of silver, or about 20 grams. Silver's unique elemental attributes guarantee that industrial silver applications shall remain robust and grow as the developing world continues to demand a more modern way of life ahead. And I don't think, well, when this article was written, the term "go green" was really all that big as it is now. So a key word right here for me is robust. And I think the industrial application will be robust because of my own personal experience and of what this says right here. It says 2/3 of a troy ounce of silver is used in one solar panel. So I will do a little research here, and I wanted to know, I just Googled it. I just want to know how many households are there, housing units are there in the United States. United States only, there's 142 million housing units, according to this little paragraph here. I guess the census was done in 2021, so there's even more now. And to me, the way I look at it is our political climate, our government is basically trying to go green, and I think it is by 2030, all car manufacturers are supposed to be producing more and more electric vehicles, and I'm not quite sure, I haven't done any research on it, but I bet you there's a bill out there, or maybe something's already passed, or there's going to be one drafted, where it's going to require every single home in the United States or building to have some kind of solar panel generating energy. So I found that very intriguing on the investment side because of the supply and demand. So if we just take a look at this 140 million housing units, so we just put it in the calculator here, 142 million households or rooftops here in the United States of America. And you times that by point, obviously we're not going to go 6,667 all the way across, by 2/3 of a troy ounce, that's approximately 95 million troy ounces of silver. And that's just for one panel. And I shared earlier on in today's video that I invested in solar panels for my house. In my house alone, took 32 panels. And I have a small house. I just have a small little 3-bedroom home. We downsized from a really bigger house. Once the kids and the mother-in-law, they all moved out, or unfortunately my mother-in-law passed away. But the kids moved out, and we didn't need that big old house. So we downsized, and we put some solar panels on this smaller house, which takes 32 panels. Now, guys, that is huge. Just for my household alone, it took, I'm not going to do the math in front of us here, but just imagine each home in America needs at least 32 panels per rooftop. And obviously it's going to be a lot more, and some will be less, but the supply and demand, the need for silver is going to be, it's going to be obviously just absolutely crazy. And I found an article here written by Rick Mills, who published it in Kitco, and I think a lot of us read this daily or at least monthly possibly. This is a pretty recent article here. It says here on March 10th of 2020, 3. And he says solar could develop most of the world's silver reserves by 2050. And this is a really neat article. So if we scroll down here, we'll see that much of silver's value is derived from the industrial demand and supply fundamentals. It's estimated around 60% of silver is utilized in the industrial applications, and like solar panels, electronics, and leaving only 40% for investing. And I don't even like that 40% investing, because if you look at the graph here, it includes silverware and jewelry. But I'm a stacker. I don't stack silverware and I don't stack jewelry. So to me, they're not considered an investment, even though they probably are. And some people might want to argue that. But I think, investing or stacking coins and bars is the way to go. But after reading this article, there will be a silver deficit if this article comes true. And I think that's really important when it comes to the silver investment demand, because as a stacker and as stacking for when the poop hits the fan, or just because I want to invest in a commodity that I think is going to grow over time, which it has proven over the centuries, I think this demand alone for solar panels is going to be huge. We haven't even discussed, electric cars or, different type of electronic equipment that need silver also. This is just one little aspect in the scope of all the different consuming silver that it will be needed to produce products for this world. And I think that is a huge reason why I invest in silver. And if we keep scrolling down, we'll see here that, let's see, I think I just found this a little bit lower. During the 1980s, many large government mints began striking silver bullion coins. For instance, the U.S. Mint began producing the 1 ounce American Silver Eagle bullion coin in 1986. Following in 1988, the Canadians did the same thing by striking the silver maple leaf bullion coin, guaranteeing the legal tender bullion coins, which are both domestically and internationally still today. And if we keep reading down here, these two highly traded government guaranteed legal tender silver bullion coins have respectively become the first and second most popular silver bullion product investors buy in terms of overall sale volumes. Number 1 is USA and number 2 Canada. And I'll be honest with you, I have more Canadian maples than I do the ASEs because of the premiums. That's the only reason. Once the premiums start becoming a little bit more normalized, I will probably start stacking a lot more ASEs because of recognizability of the coin. And we see here also that private silver mints have also been contributing a fair share of investment grade silver bullion product supplies, often at a lower prices closer to the fluctuating silver spot price. And that's what I'm doing now. I think I have a little bit more knowledge of what to buy and how to buy and where to buy, most importantly, which gives me the confidence to buy from private mints because of the premiums. It's cheaper to buy a silver coin from a private mint that might not be considered obviously a coin or have legal tender to it, but it's still 1 troy ounce of silver. Usually most of them are 0.99. Every once in a while you see 4 nines of a silver round. So it says here, unlike government mints, which produce legal tender silver bullion coins, private silver mints produce millions of ounces of silver bullion rounds and silver bullion bars. So let's get into the topic at hand here. How is silver price determined, or the silver price discovery? And I'm going to be completely transparent here. This still kind of goes over my head. I got foggy eyes here. I wish I could find a video or some documentations where I can read and just make it plain and simple. The good old spot price determination 101. Something that I can easily understand, wrap my head around it, and once I get the basic facts or the fundamentals, then I can probably dive into something a little heavier and start analyzing even more. For a commodity like silver, its future contract prices gets based on ongoing price discovery for optional future delivery of it. Although nearly often settled in cash, sometimes future contracts are settled in the real tangible good based on the stated contract's exact quantity. In other words, they hold it. They get it delivered to them as is. It's just not paper. It is the actual commodity itself. Silver spot, and I like how it says here, and I couldn't figure out what the heck was what the author's talking about, and so I guess that's an English term as a noun. So the current notional price for 1 troy ounce of silver available for the immediate delivery before being minted into a bullion product. This is really important to the new stacker or someone who has not really understood what spot prices are versus, and not versus, but in addition, the premium or what we actually pay. The spot price for silver is actually determined by commodities' most highly traded future contracts at the time. The highest traded future contract for silver can be the current month, or it might even be 2 or more months into the future. It keeps on saying here, today's silver price is determined, indexed, or aggregate using many of the world's future markets and trading volume. Based on current silver futures contract trading volumes, the silver spot price is currently most influenced by the highly fractional reserve COMEX and London Bullion Market Association, also known as the LBMA. So the key word here is highly fractional. And I have to look that up because I really wasn't sure that's a banking term. In other words, they will loan out so much more than they actually brought in. And that is, as it says right here, the author here writes, ass backwards as it may sound, the price of silver today, not the long-term historical silver price, is mostly almost all found selling and buying of virtual contracts representing the underlying potential deliverable physical precious metal fractionally reserved. I don't know what that means. That drove me nuts. Basically, I think it has something to do with the paper contracts that they're actually selling. In other words, instead of having the physical silver or whatever commodity it is actually delivered, and they pick it up on hand. So they buy 100 ounces of silver or 100 ounces of gold, and it's actually delivered to them physically, versus fractionally, meaning that it's on paper and they actually have sold more than they really have on hand. And I went over to this great source here, since this is what this whole series is about, and this is the U.S. debt clock, and look at that right there, right here in the top left corner, U.S. national debt. That is one astronomical number, so let's just look at it. I do believe that's $32.8 trillion of national debt. That is just outrageous. And if we look over here, which is really scary, when we look at it per taxpayer, that's $253,000 each taxpayer in the United States. That's how much it would cost us if we had to pay that debt off. What I wanted to do was to come down here and look at these paper ratios, and it's right here in the bottom right corner, and I blew it up here, where I took a picture of it and I blew it up, and the numbers aren't exactly the same because when I took the picture, obviously this is a clock that never stops. You can see here the paper to silver ratio is 270 to 1, and the gold is 127 to 1. So basically that means that they're selling 270 ounces of silver to every one that they have on hand. I think that's what it's saying. Correct me if I'm wrong. Please do in the comments. In fact, I love reading these comics because, once again, I am a new stacker. I am trying to learn. So if I say something wrong, please or my information is incorrect, or the good old phrase "stinking thinking," please help me out. I don't have a huge ego where I'm going to say I'm right and you're wrong by any means at all. One thing I found through my schooling and in college days, one of the best ways to learn was to do my research and to teach it. So I'm kind of doing that here. I'm not really teaching, I'm just informing, I'm kind of facilitating. So if I've said something wrong, please don't hesitate to make that constructive criticism or correction for me. I would really appreciate that. So back to our article here, that these future exchanges don't make any sense to me. They're absolutely crazy. If we keep on scrolling down, we'll see the silver bullion versus the silver spot prices. And I think the key to that section is right here, where most popular bullion products available to purchase on silver bullion dealer websites get priced per troy ounce at a few percentage points above the fluctuating silver price. This additional premium for silver bullion products is generally due to the costs associated with refining, manufacturing, minting, hedging, warehousing, marketing, buying, and selling various silver bullion products to investors and collectors. So basically, miners of silver extract and typically sell mixed silver ore or door bars to silver bullion refiners at prices just below the fluctuating gold spot price. Here in 2 minutes, you can hear a highly successful hedge fund manager explain why the trust he serves as a fiduciary chooses to acquire physical bullion over virtual derivatives of future contracts. According to him, and perhaps informed common sense, price does not solve anything. If you click on this highlight here, it'll bring us to this video right here by Kyle Bass, comments on taking delivery of 1 billion in physical gold bullion. Wow, that's a lot of gold. Well, there we have it. I'm going to wrap this up here today. And I just want to say thank you for everybody for tuning in and clicking on that thumbnail and just looking at this video. I know it's long. I know, as I said earlier on, sometimes they're a little boring when we're talking about basics. But to me, it's important to know the basics. I think we should know a little bit about why we're stacking and the importance of stacking. And because I don't know about you, but I get questions all the time like, why do I carry this silver dollar in my pocket? I carry an ASE in my pocket. I have for years and years and years. It's definitely well circulated. So therefore, I'm never broke. I always got, I guess, $20 in my pocket at least, maybe 25, depending on who wants to buy that old scuffed up coin now. But being educated is important. I think it's extremely important that we know why we stack. Not only that, but maybe at the same time, why we stack, we should also have understanding of just the basic fundamentals. The basic fundamentals of, what silver is. Just like I said earlier on, this beautiful, shiny metal. I can't get over how beautiful silver is, especially when it's all polished up and in a nice little capsule or case, whatever you want to call it. It's absolutely gorgeous. And whether you're just stacking regular, sovereign coins or bullion coins or rounds, as we have these Philharmonics right here. At first, I didn't like these. I'll be honest with you. I bought them because they were really on a great deal. As we're talking about spot, I think it was under 250, like 240 something spot for the premium. So it was a great deal. So I bought a whole bunch of them, and I think my goal now is to get a monster box of these bad boys. I really like them. I know some people say they like to have a little bit of milk spots on them, but overall they're not too bad. So as we said earlier on, if you have any comments, please make a comment, whether you like it, whether you didn't like it, but be nice, obviously. But at the same time, constructive criticism is not bad whatsoever. I actually enjoy it in the sense of, because I want to learn. I want to learn more and more about stacking silver, whether it's this junk silver as they call it, or constitutional silver. I've got a bunch of it. I'm still stacking more of it. A lot of people like to stack this because they want to use it for barter later on. I'm not quite sure if that's going to be my main focus. I think I want to keep on stacking it because of the rarity. Sooner or later, this stuff is going to run out in the sense of they're not producing it anymore. So sooner or later, we're not going to be able to buy it as easily or readily as we are right now. So, and as they say, silver is silver. It's pretty silver, even though it's been circulated and it's quite old. And I know I don't need my gloves on for this, but I'm not taking them off just to handle it. The only thing I haven't stacked when it comes to constitutional is nickels, and I'll be quite frank, I don't like nickels. I've never been a nickel fan. Maybe I should be, I don't know. Maybe someone can comment about that, of why I should be stacking nickels. Thank you for being here, and thank you for listening to this long-winded stacker. And hit the like button, please. Make a comment, please. And, of course, hit the subscribe button. I really appreciate it. I really enjoy doing this, not only for the fact that I get to go on camera and hear my voice, but the study of it and getting the knowledge of it, and I really, really enjoy it. So, Razorback Stacker here, wanting to say good night, and remember, there's always room for one more.